Man, we're back for part two.
Back for
You were
part
here for Reflections part one. We were talking with Taylor kind of about his basketball journey, where things started, where things went, where things went, and where things ended. So now we're gonna kind of talk about all the other stuff in between, kind of the real story here, because we talked about in the beginning of the first one. This Taylor, you mentioned that you wanted to do this to kind of set your story straight, B, see who you can help, if you can help anybody with your story. And so this is where we kind of get into the details. So if you're triggered by anything, a little squeamish, whatever, this part probably is going to get a little tough at times for you if that's a part of your life. So just wanted to give that warning before we started.
Yeah, man. You know what? Honestly, it started. I wasn't. It started in high school. I was probably 15, maybe 16. So
Hmm.
sophomore year of high school, and listen, man, I'm from California, so Californians we kind of operate a little differently. Marijuana is a big thing out there, right?
Right.
Obviously, it was illegal when I was growing up. Now it's fully legal and everything like that, but I'm not really going to go into the whole legal side of all that stuff.
Hmm.
It was more like just the way it made me feel. So I started smoking when I was about 16, 15, 16, and
Okay.
not heavy, just here or there. After school with the guys that never, like guys that I never, some football players, some dudes that just didn't do much. Again, so I started, and then my best friends on my basketball team were like the 15 through 20 guys who never played. Like they were they were my guys, and
Right.
so, I was smoking here or there. It was just part of just love the way it made me feel, right?
Hmm.
And you know and I never really drank that much in high school. Like I went to a couple parties, but like I told you guys in high school, I was so warped into my basketball career that I didn't have much time to do any of that shit. Like I
Hmm.
went to the prom and I got was drinking at the prom afterwards, after party and all that stuff, and then again, weed was just a big part of my life. Essentially, like it was here, it was there, and and then so I senior year in high school, we are playing in the state quarterfinals, and I knew we were going to beat the team by 1,000 points. Like I just knew it.
Hmm.
And so I went with I went with some of my teammates, right? Like four or five of my teammates, and we smoked quite a bit, and a couple hours for the game, and went to the game, and I was zooted at the game, and then first quarter rolls around, and I'm like fucking high, right? And I got like 6 points, and I averaged like 10, 15 a quarter
Yeah.
in the first quarter. And coaches are like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" My teammates are like, "Oh my god, we shouldn't have done this," And then lo and behold, second quarter, I had 28 straight points, and I ended up with 35 in the first half, and ended up with 55 in the game.
Oh my God.
So I've had some. that was that wasn't that wasn't like, oh, I should start doing it more. Before I
Right.
came, it was just like, wow, that's what I did, right? So to give you an idea, I was still able to perform at a high level
Hmm.
even while doing the dumb shit that I was doing.
Yeah. Did
So
that kind of empower you to be able to do that a little bit? I know you just said that didn't make you
um,
say like I'm gonna do this all the time, but was that one of those like validating things like I can do this and I'm
yeah,
still good?
yeah, and then I was, I mean, I think for the and then anonymous, what is the word I'm looking for? The anonymous version of the guys I was doing it with. So I was at a McDonald's game, right?
Mm.
And I'm not gonna name names, just for their rather respect, even though it was 20 years ago almost. And
Hmm.
I was with four NBA players, right? And one you could probably already assume you already know who it is, right? Based off of his history. And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
we're smoking in the park, Louisville, Kentucky, all together having a good time. And so like it wasn't like, God, I needed it. I needed it every day. It was like recreational thing, do it with the
Yeah.
homies, that sort of thing. And so let's fast forward when I got to Duke, right? So I get to Duke, and I was always, and I was always the one that was like always trying to have a good time, right?
Hmm.
Always the one trying to find out where the party's at, right? Like again, I think that's a testament, not a testament. I think that's just a result from being so cooped up in high school and having to,
Yeah.
you know, worry about whether my dad's going to see me or my sisters or my mom or whatever, right? Like more worried about my dad. So when I got to Duke, I had this freedom, right? I had this freedom.
Hmm.
And again, man, so I smoked when I got to Duke, first couple months. Actually, no, weeks. I would say it was weeks. So we got nabbed with the drug test in the summertime, and I came back. I failed the drug test like the third week I got to Duke. So and I was starting. So when I got to Duke, I was starting over Kyle Singler. I was starting. I was in the lineup. I was in the summer workouts, like in the first team. Then I failed the drug test, and then it was doghouse from day one. Like I was just in a doghouse. It was tough, man. I had a meeting with Coach K, had a meeting with Johnny Dawkins, and we don't do this here at our culture. Gave me the whole you got to call your dad, tell him what happened, and that was really tough call. That was a really
Yeah.
tough because listen, my dad's been sober going on 45 years now, 44 years,
Hmm.
and sober off everything, Alcoholics Anonymous, the whole deal. And so that one hurt. That one really hurt. That was, and
Yeah.
I'm 19 years old. I'm young. I'm a kid. I'm stupid. So that was a really tough call for me to make. And so I did the punishment though. I woke up at 5 a.m. had to run, on the track. Did and it wasn't like a university test. It wasn't. It was a team test just to see where everybody's at. And I was
Hmm.
I was the only one that didn't pass. Yeah, so as you can see, it was an uphill climb from then on
Yeah.
to try to earn the respect back and try to earn all trust, which I think that played testament into why, maybe I didn't play as much,
Hmm.
see towards the middle and end of the season. And it wasn't just the weed. So like it wasn't any other substances at that point. It was they took the I couldn't smoke anymore. So it was I stopped, right? I stopped. They tested me every 2 weeks after that for like 2 months straight. I had like 4 or 5 more tests and I passed them all good, great, right? And I was still, still an uphill battle climb to try to, gain some respect.
Yeah.
To earn coach's trust back. That's all I really cared about. My teammates too, but mainly Coach K. And when I tell you I had to run, I mean I fucking ran. Like I probably ran 15 miles at 5 a.m.
Damn.
And the next morning I had to wake up at 5 and run at 5 which is 5 miles at 5 a.m. Mind you,
Right.
during the whole K Academy, so we had past players coming. We were playing pickup in the afternoon. I was fucking dying. I was dead. Right. So after after that, I partied, man. I mean, I hung out with the lacrosse team. Like those were my guys. I had a
Hmm.
girl, and I was on the girls lacrosse team. I was getting into some shit. Like, I was lying a lot. I was not being truthful. I was a very pathological liar back then, and for a long time, I believed the lies I was telling, right? And
Right.
and so it was and so I got so warped and so clouded judgment off of, and it wasn't even the weed; it was just drinking. I was partying, like I was just coming to morning workouts hungover, and and all sorts of stuff like that. So and that played a big part of why why I didn't play, why I didn't get the minutes that I thought I could get. And again, it wasn't like I wasn't performing. Like I was still going out there and I was still performing and I was still
Yeah.
playing, but I had this in the back of my head, like, no, Taylor's not here. He's here, but he's not here. You know what I'm saying? And so
Hmm.
that was tough, man. That was tough, and that played a part it played a huge part in why I didn't play, And then obviously I left Duke, and it wasn't they didn't oust me out. They didn't say, "Hey, you're not welcome back here." It wasn't
Right.
way whatsoever. It was me again in my own doing, my own accord, going, "Hey, this isn't the spot for me." Right. Um, When in reality, if I would have stuck it out, I don't know what would have happened. Based off of my history, I probably would have gotten worse.
Yeah.
You know, transfer to Villanova, right? Villanova, my whole team is like we're all blowing it down. Like, I mean, smoking in the quads, we're having a good time. And again, I wasn't playing, so I had the freedom to do, I would finagle my way past the drug test. I didn't fail any drug tests when I took one when I got there. Um, because I did what I had to do to pass, right? And so I was still partying heavy on that off year. I mean, I was in shape and I was working out every day, but I was still, I was living like a college kid, but I was playing Big East high major Division One basketball. So how was I able to do what I was doing and play basketball was fucking blows my mind still to this day.
Yeah.
So when you fast forward to the year I was eligible to play, I had a girlfriend. I was in love. I was fucking. We partied all the time, right? And then I dabbled with a little cocaine here or there. Not much, but I dabbled here or there. Not nothing. Where it's like, well, he's on something, right? Like it wasn't anything like
Right.
that. Now I was still smoking. I was still doing my thing and whatnot. But so before the Big East tournament, we get tested because if you fail an NCAA test, it's a year suspension and you're done, right?
Yeah.
They try to test you beforehand so that they see who's dirty and who's not, so that they can pass you. So again, when I'm saying all this, I'm not the only one doing it. Like there's some teammates of mine that are doing the same thing. Now, again, for the simple fact of respect, I'm not going to name any names whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm smoking with a teammate. The next day we get tested, right? My teammate takes the test along with my other teammates, and I go up and I'm like, okay, honesty is the best policy. I'm not going through this again, right? I'm telling Coach Wright what's going on. Hey, listen, I messed up. I know this is going to be dirty. I can't take this test, Thank you for your honesty. We're going to suspend you. So I got suspended for the Big East regular season championship game against West Virginia, in which we lost at home. Yeah. The guy that took the test played 25 minutes. So I'm like, hold on, what's going on here? Like, and listen, I don't want to say, I was the only kid that lived west of Philadelphia on that team. I was the only white kid on that team.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying it has any factor, but that's where I was coming from, right?
Sure.
I, in no way did it play a part. That's just how I was feeling, right? Like, I'm from the suburbs of Orange County, right? We had dudes from inner city DC, Philly, Chicago, Philly, DC, New York, Philly,
Yep.
all Jersey, all over the place. And I love them dudes. Them dudes I go to war with. I still talk to them to this day, right? Like those are my guys. But I just felt a little shorted.
Sure.
So I got suspended. So then Big East tournament, barely played 2 to 5 minutes. And my job averaging like 14 minutes a game, 10, 14 minutes. Barely played. That same teammate played 30 minutes. We lose to Marquette, I think, right, in the Big East tournament. So then we go to the NCAA tournament. And, during this whole time, I'm like, TK, when you going to straighten up? When you going to straighten up, TK? So I'm hearing all this bullshit. I got this stuff going on with my dad. My mom and dad are not well, and that's just a lot going on, right? A lot going on. And so, long story short, is I played the first round of the NCAA tournament, had a good game. Played the second round, right? And we ended up getting upset by St. Mary's. So then, oh man, this is tough. So after the season, right, we have our post season meetings, right, with our coaches. And so I think Jay Wright said to me verbatim, he goes, in order for you to come back and play here next year, you're going to have to go to rehab. And I thought that was the most disrespectful thing ever, right? Because I'm not the only one doing shit. Like,
Right.
maybe it's just magnified more by how I went about doing what I was doing. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Like I told you, I had this girlfriend in Jersey. I would leave after curfew, drive an hour and 15, 20 minutes to her house in Jersey Shore at 11:30, get to her by 1 a.m., leave at 5 a.m., come back for morning workouts at 7. I did that like 3 times a week. Like, so I was doing just outrageous shit, like just outrageous stuff. So Coach Wright told me that, and I was like, thanks, but no thanks. Like, I'm good. Like, And so this was my thought process going forward after that, right? They didn't necessarily kick me off the team, right?
Mm-hmm.
I came back summertime, right, going into now my senior year, which would be my third year playing, my junior year eligibility, my senior year academically. So the summertime, and I'm like, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use basketball. I'm going to use the scholarship to get my degree. My degree is the most important thing for me right now, right? So I'm like, I'll take out student loans if I have to, right? Just so I can get my degree, come back to California, go overseas, take a year off from basketball. And that's where my thought process was. So ass backwards thinking is ridiculous, right? Got nabbed with another test in the summertime. Failed that one, right? Then it was like, okay, we're going to part ways, right? So if you read the press clippings, if you read everything that was on social media or whatever at that time, it was Taylor King leaves Villanova for personal reasons, right?
Mm-hmm.
Personal reasons was I was failed 2 drug tests and I was out.
Yeah.
It was, right? And there's no denying that. There's no hiding that. There's no running from that, right?
Right.
And that was on my own doing, that was on that was me, just deep, into. Now it's becoming a little bit of a. I'm thinking at that time it's just bad luck. I'm just having some bad luck. Like there's dudes that are doing the same shit, right? But I'm just getting caught. Like I'm fucked. You know what I mean? So I come back from Villanova and I come back home, right? And that's kind of where I was like at like a crossroads is what I'm doing, and then I go to Concordia, right? And I'm still doing the same shit. They're not drug testing. They're not fucking. Right. They're not babysitting me. They're not going to my classes to make sure I'm there. They're not, there is no like accountability at that level, right? You do your shit and then you get to the game, like practice games. It's not Division I high major basketball. It's not right. Where you got tutors and you got student managers making sure you get your fucking ass to class, right? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's just, and so, and I was home. Like I was in Southern California, I was on my home, so I was doing crazy stuff. Like, and I wasn't necessarily dabbling with the cocaine at that point. I was just drinking and smoking and drinking, drinking and smoking, right? And I was doing that often. I mean, I was doing that damn near. Now the drinking, maybe not as much every day, but I was smoking every day, right?
Yeah.
And my coaches didn't really say much to me because I was fucking averaging almost 20 a game. Like I was, I mean, we were like top 5 in the country. Like, what are they gonna say? And so, and they're not even testing. So why would I even, why would they even give a shit? So, and that's where I got to the whole, checked out mentally from school. Like after the national tournament, I didn't even go to my finals. Like I didn't even go to class. I was just like, I'm checked out. I'm working out.
Yeah.
I'm working out. I'm smoking. I'm drinking. I'm hanging out. Right. That's kind of what I'm doing. Because I'm like, I'm going overseas. Fuck this. Right. Like I'm going to go make some money now. Lo and behold, 2011 hits. Boom. NBA lockout. I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Right. And so, like I said on the previous segment, that so I ended up going to Canada, right?
Yeah.
And again, doing the same shit, right? Just doing it. Over there, they don't give a shit, right? Like you're playing professional basketball. It doesn't happen to you out there. Then I got released, came back, and then 2 weeks later I signed with that other team. And so when I say that I got back after, and then I hit rock bottom, that's where I started getting into more cocaine, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe some pills were mixed in there too.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean about like I was in a bad place, right? Like mentally, um, and I was still doing what I was doing, except I was doing more of it, and I was doing some other substances that were,
Mm-hmm.
you know, even worse for me. And so that was like a 2 or 3 month deal where I went on like a bender, essentially, right? Is what they call it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, and that's when the turnaround happened, right? My dad called me, got me out of the situation I was in.
Right.
And then I took a little bit of a break from what I was doing, the smoking, the drinking. I wasn't,
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't doing any much more of that. And so then I got with these guys, right? I got with these pros that are helping me. I got, Forehand Kelly, I got Jelani McCoy, right? And so we're working out. After we're working out, we're going smoking a blunt. Like, that's just what they did at the
Yeah.
professional level. Like, and you ask every real hooper that played at the highest level, played professional basketball, like, that is nothing. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? Like, you're gonna go work out in the morning. We're gonna go get something to eat. We're gonna go work out. We're gonna go smoke. That's what we're gonna do, right? Like, not drinking, not doing anything else. And so, turned out I went and had a great time in Taiwan. I signed a deal, right? And so that's where like that's where I still had the same addictive personality though.
Yeah.
Everywhere I went, it didn't go away. It got
Right.
necessarily a little bit worse again with not other substances. The other substances I wasn't doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was smoking and I was drinking and I was doing it in foreign countries, which is even more dangerous.
Right.
I was making a boatload of money. I was making great money. I was out the club 2, 3 nights a week. Like I was,
Yeah.
I was hooping and I was leading the league in scoring. I was averaging 29 a game and I was averaging 14 rebounds and I was still doing the same bullshit that I was doing,
Yeah.
and so why would I stop if I'm gonna keep fucking hooping,
Right.
Like,
Was there ever a point like when the two instances happened, leaving Duke, leaving Villanova? Was there ever a point where you were like, I gotta chill, I gotta stop, or were you just kind of like, I'm gonna find the next stop and be able to do what I do?
I think it was I'm in a run of bad luck. That's what I'm doing. I'm
Mm-hmm.
I'm in a run of bad luck is kind of what I was thinking. I'm the one getting screwed. I'm the one
Right.
that's getting fucked because other guys are doing the same fucking thing.
Okay.
That's what my mindset was.
Yeah.
So ass backwards, right? Like so just childish and naive and
Mm-hmm.
like you know I almost didn't get jobs overseas because of what happened. I got numerous jobs taken from me because when you look up what happened to me, the first thing that popped up when you Google my name was what happened at Duke and what happened at Villanova.
Yeah.
Not necessarily Duke because that was kind of closed doors, but
Yeah.
Villanova for sure, right? Dude, there's guys getting fucking have gun charges that are going to get jobs overseas, and I'm going because I failed a couple of drug tests. Like, are we
Mm-hmm.
serious? Are we
Right.
serious? You know what I'm saying? And so that's kind of where I was like, really, like, God damn, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just getting the short end of the stick. And and so when you go along that journey of playing professional basketball, and then every time I came home, I spent all the money that I just made overseas. I was going to Vegas. I was hanging around people that had buku money, but I thought, a good amount of money, and I thought it was just going to replenish. I was going to party, work out, next stop, right? Same thing
Yeah.
again, right? And it was and so I went to the Middle East, man, and like I didn't, I got in where I fit in, right? Like I was just I hung around, some teammates who did the same things that I like to do, and I had a good time. I knew how to try to have a good time. I was the good time
Yeah.
guy, right? Dude, I went to the Middle East and I didn't even play in a fucking game. Like, I got signed with the team in Iran. And I went to Iran for like 3 weeks. Did a little pre-tournament workout. It was a WABA, the West Asia Basketball Association Championships. And this team I played for was oil money, bro. They gave one guy $80,000 for a week of his service. I was getting like 30 racks, and I didn't even play in a game.
Yeah.
That was like I was like insurance in case this other guy didn't pan out, right?
Right. Right.
Oh man! And so I'm I'm in Iran, and this is like a story. This is another little. I'll put in a couple little stories here. This is gonna
Yeah. I
blow
like it.
you. I'm in Iran, and I'm playing on a team, and Tyrone Brazelton, who was at
Hmm.
Western Kentucky, right? My guy, who's the point guard. So the whole team ends up going to Tehran like 2 days before the tournament, which is in Iraq.
Hmm.
And so they had some issues with my passport. So I stayed with our manager that spoke pretty good English. So he was like, all right, listen, the coach just called. He goes, we're going to meet you at the tournament in Iraq, and Duhok is where it's like 8 hours from Baghdad. And he's like, you're going to fly from Iran to Dubai to Iraq. And I was like, okay, we'll meet you at the gate. We'll meet you at the gate, right? And I was like, okay. So they're all gone, and I'm by myself now in Iran. So I'm on the airplane. I get to Iraq. There's not a single fucking person in this airport. The airport is the size of like my one street. You can see nothing but desert. I got no money in my pocket. My phone don't work. I'm like, I'm gonna die here.
Yeah.
So I'm there for like 2 hours. Not in my, not a single person, not a single person from my, no one coming up to me going, "Hey, are you okay?" Like nothing, right? Nobody speaks English. So then a team from Jordan fly in and a team from Lebanon fly in. And thank God, because of basketball, a guy named Fadi Khabib is his name. He was like a Lebanese like legend, like I mean legend. And that was my dude from back in when we were working out when I was in middle school.
Hmm.
And so he was like, let me try to help you, because they're going to the same tournament I'm going to. So a team from Jordan comes up and they spell my name Tilloor, and they're like, are you this person? I'm like, yeah, sure. And they're like, your team's at the tournament. You're gonna come with us. So now it's pitch black, dark outside. I go on a bus and we travel 3 hours. And where the fuck knows? I have no idea to the tournament. I get to the tournament and I'm looking at my coach like, you motherfucker. I'm like, really? So, very sorry. Bullshit, right? Long story short, I'm like, they're like, you're not playing. Like, we're gonna try to get you on, but you're probably not gonna play. I was like, okay, well, just give me my money and I'll be happily on my way home. So the money man comes. I'm there in Iraq for like 4 days, drinking, having a good time. Alcohol's legal in Iran.
Hmm.
Alcohol's illegal. I'm hanging out, drinking with some teammates, and we're having a good time. My man comes in with a briefcase full of $100 bills, right? And so now he's like, I was like, can I go home now? And he's like, yeah, we'll get you your flight home. So I fly from Iraq to Dubai, get off in Dubai, taxi to Abu Dhabi to Frankfurt, Germany, Germany to LA. And when I tell you I had like 9 grand stuck in my compression shorts, like right next to my nutsack, and then I had like 6 here, 8 here, and fucking money everywhere, right?
Yeah.
I gotta go in a taxi with our Iraqi ambassador, with the taxi driver in broad daylight, 3 hours to the airport. You're going through 5 security checkpoints, guys with AK-47s. I got my fucking passport and money everywhere, and I mean, it was like the scariest shit ever, dude.
Yeah.
Our Iraqi ambassador spoke English. He was cool as shit. So he's like, don't worry, it's gonna be okay. And I'm like, yeah, sure. And so finally I get to the airport. You got to go through like another 7 security checkpoints just to get on your plane, right? In airports, it's one security checkpoint, you're good, right? This is
Right.
like 6. So finally I get on the airplane and I'm like, okay, finally, once we get out of Iraqi airspace, I'm like, oh my God, I got all this money on me. I'm going to go splurge. So anyways, I got like a limo when I get to Dubai, to Abu Dhabi. I'm like, I'm loving life, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was like my Middle East story. And that's bananas. My mom
Yeah.
freaking out. My family's freaking out, right? And I'm like, whatever, let's go with it. Um, so then I get back from there. Then I go to Mexico. In Mexico, I was in Los Mochis, Sinaloa, 3 weeks before Chapo got arrested.
Yeah. Yeah.
3 weeks after Chapo got arrested is when I fly in there. So I go there, and we played 4 days a week. We played on a Monday, Tuesday, and on a Friday, Saturday. The other 3 days, I was in a strip club right down the street from my hotel. They knew me by first name. They had a bucket of Tecate waiting for me and an 8 ball on the counter waiting for me every time I walked in. I did that for like 4 months. Led the league in scoring and was top five in rebounds. Crazy shit,
Yeah.
right? Like just like what are you doing? Like that's just how I was living, right? It's
Hmm.
just reckless. I was living reckless. The fact again that I'm not dead, I'm
Right.
not in a jail or not in institutions. I go back to that from the last segment, right? Now
Yep.
you're hearing this, you're like, wow, how are you not dead?
Hmm.
You're
Hmm.
not. And so, anyway, so like after Mexico, I was again doing the same shit in Lithuania. In England, I was just smoking and drinking. I met my wife while I was playing over in England. And that was a blessing. She was great.
Yeah.
She's been great. She's great. She's the love of my life, right? And so, you fast forward through the professional days.
Hmm.
I'm still doing, and there's was times where it got crazy, and then it got
Yeah.
kind of I chilled out a little bit, and then times where it got crazy, and times we chilled out a little bit. Like it wasn't all just go go go, right? Especially because my wife had a 3-month-old baby, so I'm now fathering this young child.
Hmm.
So now he's mine. He's mine now. He's 11, and I've been
Yeah.
around, and so he's technically my stepson, but he's my son, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
And so now we have a 3-year-old daughter who's
Hmm.
ours, and so again, you fast forward to now I'm retired, right? So the first year I retire, and again I'm living in California. I'm coaching, I'm training, and now things are like I'm I'm kind of living a normal fucking life, right? Like
Hmm.
smoking here, there. It's California, like the weed's legal now. I go in there with my ID, I get some weed, right? Like
Hmm.
it's just what it is, right? I smoke with some of my assistant coaches, don't do it around the kids. I do it, responsibly is what I'd
Hmm.
say, right? Drink socially, and I'm living a retired life. I golf. I golf 2 3 times a week.
Yeah.
I coach. I train. I'm making good money. I'm raising a family, so I'm having a good time, right? And then this was for about a year. I did that, maybe
Yeah.
a year and a half. And so it wasn't until about 2020, 2021 when things started getting really bad.
Hmm.
Where I finally was like, wow, I think I have a problem, like,
Was that the first time you kind of actually said that to yourself?
yeah, 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 believe it or not, because I think because I was so functioning while doing
Yeah.
everything,
Yeah. Sure.
yeah,
Sure.
and so I was so clouded by maybe I don't have a problem because I'm still making money, I'm still having fun, I'm still 25, 26, I'm living like a fucking, normal cat, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what I don't have my degree. I have a good relationship with my family, right? My
Hmm.
dad and I are cool. We're not great, but we're cool. Um, and so no, like I didn't necessarily think like, man, I got a problem, but it got really bad. 2021, I would say.
Hmm.
COVID hit. COVID
Yeah.
hit, and things got really bad.
Hmm.
Not so it was alcohol, it was weed, and it was cocaine. Those were
Yeah.
my three things that were like would floor me, and
Hmm.
the other stuff didn't really didn't really I wasn't really into any of that stuff anymore. And
Yeah.
I only dabbled with stuff like that. It was those three things, and it got it got bad. I was in a bad place. I was doing shit behind people's backs.
Hmm.
I was I was lying to everybody. and most importantly, I was lying to my wife, and I was I was lying to my family, I was lying to my coaches. I was,
Yeah.
they knew kind of what I was doing.
Hmm.
No one had any idea what I was doing, right? Like, you know, and so it got to about. Now listen, my dad's, again, like I said, my dad's been sober, 44 years. So I grew up in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. Like I grew up in it, meetings.
Right.
And all the men I know in my life are all sober guys, and so it wasn't until my wife essentially called me out. Like I had a gambling problem. Um,
Hmm.
she goes, "Where's all my fucking money?" So I was making good money, but we had nothing to show for it because I was spending it all doing dumb
Yeah.
shit, right? And so I remember like it was yesterday, man, because it's coming on 3 years now. 3 years ago,
Hmm.
um, she goes, "Where's all our money at?" I was like, I got to come clean. And so I came clean. It was very tough to do. And she was like, "Either you get help or we're gone." And I was like, "Well, and my daughter was 3 months old at the time."
Hmm.
And so I called my dad, right? Full circle moment type thing, right? Like
Yeah.
resented the man forever. And then he's the first person I call. I called my dad. I remember it was April 23rd, 2022. April 23rd, 22. So I called him. I'm like, "Hey, where are you?" And he goes, "Oh, I'm at a baseball game." I was like, "Can we meet for breakfast?" And he's like, "Yeah, how's Thursday sound?" I said, "Yeah, that sounds great." But an hour later, I call back. I'm like, "Yeah, I can't wait till Thursday." I said, "I need to see you like tomorrow." And he goes, "Okay, I'll meet you here in the morning." And he knew right away. He just knew,
Yeah.
right? He just knew. He's got that sense, right? He just knew. And so we meet in the parking lot, and I'm fucking crying. Um, I'm like, "I got a problem, man. I got a problem. I need some help." And that was the greatest, single most, probably greatest moment I've had in my lifetime.
Yeah.
Where I reached out for help, which is the number one hardest thing to do.
Right.
And what was funny is that my dad's been sober a long time, and he didn't really know what to do. Like he
Hmm.
was told me all the right things, and told me everything's gonna be okay, and that it's time to go to meetings, right? And a lot of people don't really know what the whole Alcoholics Anonymous thing is, but
Right.
I'll brush up on that because it saved my life flat
Yeah.
out, right? I hadn't been arrested ever yet. I hadn't been divorced yet.
Hmm.
I hadn't been dead yet.
Right.
They were all yets. Like all these things were yets for me.
Yeah.
If I kept going the way I was going, something bad was going to happen.
Sure.
And so my dad called the guy who wound up being my sponsor, like the first day. I went to a meeting that day with my dad. Um, and I went to a meeting every day for,
Hmm.
I went to double 2 meetings a day for 6 months straight.
Yeah.
And I just dove head first into this program, man. This Alcoholics Anonymous program. It saved my life. It absolutely saved my life.
Yeah.
I have these steps that I live by. I have these principles that I live by. I have
Hmm.
this spiritual connection with a higher power that I didn't have before,
Right.
which I call God. And I think the best part about living this program, and it's only one day at a time. That's the best part about it, is that I can only take care of today, right? And then I'll
Yeah.
worry about tomorrow when tomorrow comes. And that's the hardest thing for guys that are trying to get sober to focus on, right? How am I going to get my life back together? How am I going to, how am I going to afford to pay bills, or how am I going to, how am I going to piece together the relationships that I broke? But that's all part of the program, right?
Hmm.
And the best part is that you don't ever do it alone. Like if you
Yeah.
do it alone, you're probably going to end up drinking again. You're probably going to end
Right.
up, doing drugs again. That's kind of what I've learned. But the best part, I think, is that I don't ever have to lie anymore.
Hmm.
That's the best part for me. Is
Yeah.
I live such a rigorous, honest life now, as you can tell by the stuff I've been saying.
Sure.
Um, there's nothing that I've held out where it's like, oh, he's not really telling the truth on that. No, it's all about living an honest life, and and then and doing stuff for other people,
Mm-hmm.
helping other people, because I've had this gift given to me, right?
Yeah.
Um, uh, that I need to get back, right? And I feel like it's something that will help another athlete, another
Mm-hmm.
person just struggling, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of this was, and so going through the program and then going back on my life,
Yeah.
it was all my own doing. I don't blame Coach K for anything. I don't blame
Mm-hmm.
J for anything. I don't blame my other teammates. I don't blame anybody for anything, because it was me and my own selfish and self-centered ways, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where I was only looking out for myself, and that's the greatest gift I could ever ask for, is knowing that I
Yeah.
take responsibility for it. And the best part about this program was I was able to make these amends, right? And the amends
Yeah.
is the biggest part. The first amends I made to was my dad, and that was one of the most freeing things for me that I've ever done, right?
Mm-hmm.
The second amends was my family, my wife, my sisters, my mom, right? Then the next one was Jay Wright, and that was pretty fucking awesome. You know,
Yeah.
one, he picked up the phone for me.
Right. Right.
Two, I know he did the best he could for me. He tried his hardest to help me, like he definitely did. And I just, I was so worked up into like my own self,
Yeah.
myself. And I think the one thing he said to me, which was something I'll remember forever, is that as a coach, all we care about is how our kids are doing, how our players are doing, to make sure that they're okay.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing the fact that I'm okay now is a serious gift.
Yeah.
And the last one I made too was Coach K. And so that was something that was actually relatively recent. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I said like 3 months ago.
Okay.
Because I wanted some sobriety. I wanted like a good long substance of sobriety.
Yeah.
Some time where there was some weight behind what I was going to say to him. And listen, man, I hadn't talked to the guy in 17 years.
Mm-hmm.
Hadn't seen him. Hadn't talked to him. Nothing. So I got his phone number from Kevin Love. So I called him, and it rang once, went straight to voicemail, and then I couldn't leave a message because his voicemail box wasn't set up. So I was like, oh fuck, maybe it's the wrong number. And so I texted him. I said, hey coach, this is Taylor King. I'm so sorry for I'm not so sorry. I said, it's been a long time. If you can reach back out to me, I'd really love to talk to you. I know you're busy. 45 minutes later, I'm in the middle of my workout, and he calls me, and we spent 30 minutes on the phone, and that was one of the coolest things I think I've ever
Yeah.
done. Right, like for this man, I'm nobody. Like, I'm just another like 17 years has gone by. You know, I mean, and he had the time. Like the guy's more busy now than he was when he was a coach.
Right.
To pick up the phone and call me and talk to me for like a half hour about what's going on in my life, how things are going, and that conversation was a, a gift. I mean, it was an absolute
Yeah.
gift. It's all because of the program of
Mm-hmm.
Alcoholics. That's all. That's all it is, right? And that was, I think, the the greatest gift I could ask for was being current with him. Now I'm current
Yeah.
with that. When I see him at some point, whether that's this weekend in San Antonio or or anytime I ever see him, I'm good. We're
Yeah.
good. Like we can look each other in the eyes, and he knows that I'm okay, and he knows that whatever I do now, moving forward, I'm gonna be okay.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's the coolest fucking thing I could ever ask for. Like, same thing with Jay Wright. If I ever saw him, he'd be like, "I know you're good," and
Mm-hmm.
he knows I'm good, and I'm good, right? Like I'm at peace with where I am and what I'm doing. Do I want to be working in corrections? No. Do I want
Right.
to be coaching high school kids? I don't know. I would rather be in the NBA. I'd rather be coaching college, but is that where I'm at right now? No. But
Right.
will it happen in the future? I don't know. But I know I'm okay with where I am now.
Yeah.
So, you know,
And I think that's so important, right? Because and just kind of talking to people out there who are listening to this, and maybe you're one foot in, one foot out of trying to find a support system or trying to find help, whether it's AA or NA or any other organizations, or just even trying to start talking to people. What is what's one of the biggest things you can tell somebody who's who wants to take that step but isn't sure, or is looking for results over substance? What is it that you would tell them to kind of go into that step that maybe you didn't hear that you needed to hear?
um, I think the biggest thing is reaching out for help, is asking for
Hmm.
help. I think that's the first part. You know, now some people have to be arrested in order to find out they
Right.
need, or somebody needs to almost die in order for them
Hmm.
to know that they need help, right? But I was very lucky where I was like, I don't want to lose my family.
Yeah.
So I was like, I need help, you know. Then I quickly realized I'm not doing it for them now. I'm doing it for me.
Yeah.
And all the other shit will come into place.
Hmm.
I went straight to Alcoholics Anonymous, even though drugs are a big part of my story. I went to Alcoholics Anonymous because I did my drugs alcoholically
Yeah.
and I drank alcoholically. Whenever I had my first drink, it was over with.
Yeah.
And whenever I drank, I couldn't stop. So I knew I had a problem.
Hmm.
But if for guys that are trying to think if they have a problem or think if they don't have a problem, go to a meeting. Like I go to meetings every day. You know,
Hmm.
I try to every day. I go now to about 4 or 5 a week, right? But I'm, you know, I'm coming up on 3 years sobriety. I know my sponsor's got 33 years of sobriety. He goes to a meeting 4 days a week. Like, are we kidding? My
Yeah.
dad's 45 years sober. He goes to a meeting 3 days a week. Like, you know, I found the most in the meetings that I go to,
Hmm.
and I was reluctant at first to hear anything that was similar to my story or my path or my
Hmm.
what my what had happened to me, and I quickly realized that I need to look for the similarities and not the differences, and so I started slowly finding those similarities, right?
Yeah.
And I got in the middle of the pack, right? I just kind of dove all in.
Hmm.
I, I love, you know, I was like, I really want what that guy has.
Yeah.
I really want what that guy has. I don't really want what that guy has. I know he's sober, but I don't really want what he has, right? But I want what that guy has. So I
Hmm.
gave my number to that guy. Hey, let's call, let's talk, right? And so I kind of just dove headfirst, and that's why I've made it to where I am now.
Yeah.
You know, so if you're if anybody's out there struggling, or or if they're not sure if they have a problem, just go reach out for some help and go, hey, let's
Hmm.
talk, and just open your mouth and be honest.
Yeah.
That's kind of the biggest part is just being honest, right?
Hmm.
And this is how much I drink, or this is how much I do drugs. Then you go from there, right? But
Yeah.
it's all about just opening your mouth and reaching out for help and being honest.
Yeah. Now, did you ever become a sponsor within the program?
Yeah, I sponsored a few guys. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Did you find that part to? I mean, because I know you mentioned before, even on the last segment we did about kind of how training's been. You're a great trainer. And that's a part of your mentality is to be able to train people. Is that do you kind of find some similarities there with that?
I do. So sponsorship's a little different in the sense
Hmm.
of like I I can only help this guy to a certain degree,
Right.
but if I try to help him
Yeah.
and he doesn't get it and he goes
Yeah.
out and gets drunk, or if he goes out and drinks or gets high or whatever, that's not on me,
No. No. Yeah.
because in the end, what's it helping me do? Stay sober.
Right.
That's the only thing that matters, right?
Yeah.
It's,
For sure.
it's like it's like I sponsored 3 guys. They've all gone out and drank.
Hmm.
That's not on me. I've done
No.
the best. I've done the best I could,
Yeah.
you know. But am I still sober? Absolutely. So it's doing its
Right.
job. So it's doing
Yeah.
its job, right? I look at the basketball thing like, I just try. I love teaching the game,
Yeah.
right? I love teaching the game, and so I love the X's and O's, I
Hmm.
love the game plan. I love the film. I love it all, and
Yeah.
and so it's a little different in that aspect.
Sure.
But I can understand where you were coming from about how you could
Hmm.
possibly, relate the two. But yeah, it's just about,
Yeah,
trying
yeah.
trying to help somebody who's suffering is what I'm about.
Right.
So now I have an opportunity to do both, right? I have an opportunity to teach the game that I love that's given so much to me, and then I
Hmm.
have the ability to help somebody who's life or death, right?
Yeah.
Like, I know guys that have been in the program have gone out and haven't made it back, so
Right.
it's just it's a tough one. I feel like as though I can help those high level players that are in the limelight, that are in the spotlight,
Hmm.
that have media coverage, and that have the, the hype, because that's what I had, right?
Yeah.
That's where I was before the social media became social media. Now,
Yeah. Yeah.
imagine the shit that was
I
going.
know.
Imagine how much money I was making. Let's put that out there.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
I mean, with the NIL and shit, imagine how much money I'd be making. Which fucking makes me upset. But you know what? For another time. But
Hmm.
that's it's kind of just trying to navigate life and navigate the pitfalls and the challenges that you're going to come across. I'm a big advocate of what Kevin Love does with mental health, right?
Right.
I probably had some stuff go on mental health
Yeah.
wise, right? But I chose drugs and alcohol to cope with my
Hmm.
mental problems, right? And so I take the drugs and alcohol away. And now I have this program where
Yeah.
I can live by, right? And not everybody has a program, you know.
Right.
Everybody has different ways. They go to church and they
Hmm.
have God as their forefront, right? Now, I'm a spiritual person. It's a very spiritual program, but it's not all, So
Right.
it's certain things that I have to go by, right?
Hmm.
Not everybody can do a program, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of people in Alcoholics Anonymous that have, I mean, John Lucas, for example,
Yeah.
has been sober 37 years, right? He helped me tremendously, right?
Hmm.
Him and I are really close because we share this. We share this
Yeah.
connection, right? And I don't know if you know a guy named, I'm not gonna, it's called
Sure.
anonymous reason, but John Lucas's thing is pretty well known. Everybody knows
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
I won't name names, but there's other people that are in, the sports world that are, sober. And
Absolutely.
it's an anonymous program, so I'm not gonna, break their
Yeah.
identity. But yeah,
And within that community, do you are you able to find some and reach out to some other athletes who have been in your position, kind of understand where
I
you've been?
I try to. I just live in such a bubble that
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
I don't know, you know, where to go for that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I got you.
Maybe there's a group they that people have that are centered towards athletes, but
Hmm.
I don't know. I know of a few like athletes, not just basketball players, that have gone
Hmm.
through the program that I've tried to help.
Yeah.
I'm no necessarily sponsor, but I'm a phone call away, and
Hmm.
that's the big part is having that line of communication open where you're helping at all times.
Yeah. So, kind of to wrap this up, I wanted one more question, or I guess it's not so much a question, more so of a more of a statement in a way. We call this show obviously reflections. I want you to use me as your reflection. You look back on your life, you're looking in the mirror. What would you tell yourself with the opportunities you've had and where you've gone and where you've come from and where you are now and where you're going? What would be kind of the biggest thing you would say to yourself and your own reflection as to what you've done?
That's a hell of a question. Um, oh man, that is a tough question. I would probably I'd probably go with it's all about kind of who you surround yourself with.
Hmm.
Um, an addiction is an addiction, right?
Hmm.
Like it doesn't matter honestly who you hang around with. The addiction will come if you let it.
Right.
Um, but I feel like for me personally, if I didn't hang around the wrong people,
Hmm.
do the wrong things with the wrong people, and hung around with the right people who may have influenced me a little bit better,
Hmm.
um, I may not have gone down that road, but I probably would eventually, if that makes sense. If it didn't
Sure.
happen, if it didn't happen when I was in college or even when I was playing professionally, it would have happened later
Hmm.
because I have an addictive personality, and whenever I have this like physical, this mental obsession and this physical allergy towards alcohol and towards drugs that it affected me differently, right?
Right.
Um, but my advice for somebody who thinks that they might have a problem, or going back to my old self, looking back in the mirror, it would be I would try to hang around people that were influencing me in a better way. Um, you know, that's a really tough question, but that's kind of where what I would say would be the big portion of what's important.
Hmm.
Um, um, I think the rigorous honesty thing is something that has turned a page for me, because of how much I kind of was a manipulator back
Hmm.
when I was drinking and drugging. And kind of it's a gift what I have right now, right? It's a gift. I wish I had it when I was 20.
Hmm.
I wish I had it when I was 17, right?
Right.
But you get where you go where you go, and you are where you are because of the journey, right? And you know, do I regret anything? No, no. I mean, I wish things were different in some sense. I wish I would have won a national championship with Duke in 2010. Yeah. I
Hmm.
wish I would have won an NAI national championship the year after I left Concordia. Yeah, right. I wish I played in the NBA. Yeah, absolutely, right. But I don't think I would be where I am right now if it weren't for the things that have happened to me. Right. It's all part of the journey, right? It's all part of the journey. And my job now, moving forward as a 30, going on 37-year-old man, is to
Hmm.
be the best version of Taylor I could be the best husband, the best father I could
Hmm.
be the best person I could be a good person, do the right thing, and you know, and God will take care of the rest. And where will I be in 5 years, 10 years? I don't know, right? I don't know.
Right.
You know, but I know that if I continue to keep doing the things that I'm supposed to be doing, that I'll be put in a good position to do what I want to do and where I'm supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I see and feel as of today, you know. And
Yeah.
tomorrow, I gotta take care of Thursday stuff on Thursday or Wednesday stuff on Wednesday.
Hmm.
Today I'm just taking care of Tuesday stuff on Tuesday. So
That's excellently put, Taylor. Thank you, man.
yeah, man.
I really appreciate it. Really appreciate the honesty, the accountability,
Yeah,
and your story. And again, I hope that this helps people who have not been in your shoes, who have judged, give them a chance to see you are a human. You are somebody who goes through things just like everyone else, and gives you a chance to tell your story, listen to your story, and understand you better. And be like we said before. I really hope that this can help someone. Your story can help someone. If it helps one person, make a difference in their life, man.
all that matters. It's all that matters.
That's all that matters.
All that
But
matters.
thank you very much, man. I
You
really
have,
appreciate it.
yeah, thank you, man. I really appreciate you having me on and
Absolutely.
giving me this platform to share.
Of course. Taylor King, man. Thank you very much.
All right, man. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you guys.